Hello everyone, welcome to GB Bricks. My name is Glenn. In today's video we're going to be reviewing the newly released 72033. This is Donkey Kong and DK Jumbo, a part of the new Mario Kart Lego line. If you're not aware, I run another channel named Switch Up, so obviously Nintendo Switch, Nintendo based. I am a big fan of Nintendo in general and was very much looking forward to this Mario Kart series and was eager to add at least Donkey Kong for now to my collection, being that he's my favourite character. But what exactly do I think of this model now it's built? Well, let me tell you. Let's begin by looking at the overall aesthetic once the model is built. So as you can see, you get Donkey Kong himself, you get the cart that he uses, you get a small side build here, which is a target, which is meant to be struck with one of the shells that you receive, and you have a banana skin on top, which obviously when activating the target will fly into action. You get a green shell and a red shell, both of which of course are in the Mario Kart games. I do think actually this represents the source material incredibly well. Donkey Kong, obviously being brick built as he is, does a good job of getting across the aesthetic and the general mannerisms of the character. The cart, by the same token, obviously has that barrel motif that Donkey Kong is well known for, going all the way down to things such as the tyres. The tyres are hard plastic as opposed to rubber, and it has all of the key features that make it recognisable from the vehicle it's meant to represent in the games, that being the DK Jumbo from initially Mario Kart Double Dash, which was on the GameCube, but it was also in Mario Kart Tour. It's perhaps a little wider than its video game counterpart, and the back does look a little more blocky or bulky than it does in game, but to be fair, LEGO have done a very good job here of representing the source material, and it's definitely recognisable, if you're aware of its existence in the game of course, of that particular vehicle. Let's move on to the actual build experience now then, and I will say it is a fun build to put together. You start with building the Donkey Kong model itself, and you do that in bag 1. There's a fabric tyre that I'm sure you can see, and this comes in later in the build. One thing to note is there was actually a mistake in the instruction booklet, which is the first time I've seen that in a long time in a LEGO set. I believe it was step 17. There are a few bricks represented in the picture that you don't actually put onto the build until step 18. It did lead to me going back a few pages wondering if I'd missed something before looking across to the next step and realising LEGO's mistake. Bag 2 is the bulk of the cart, and this was probably the most enjoyable part of the build for me, putting that cart together. And then in bag 3 you finish off the cart, where you do a lot of the shaping here, and you get these curves on the front of the build and on the back here. And I will say actually that part was a bit repetitive. It doesn't take a huge amount of time, so it's not a huge issue, but it was probably the least enjoyable part of the build, just creating those curves for the vehicle. As well as this, the majority of the stickers are applied during this final stage, the final bag, and then you do create the small side build as well, which doesn't take very long, and you'll find yourself finished. In terms of the build techniques then, well, let's start by looking at Donkey Kong himself. There is some nice sculpting for the body. I do think he's represented very well in LEGO form. Obviously you can stand him up right, as you can see here, although if you put him in his more natural position, which is with hands to the ground, just tilting the feet there and then putting the head up, it does mean that he sits quite nicely and you can see the tyre properly, as the tyre does jut out otherwise. Yeah, I think they've done a very good job of creating Donkey Kong in brick built form. There are a couple of sections here that are exposed, which would have been nice to see those covered. You could have had a few more of these pieces there. I can't think of any reason why they would be exposed. There doesn't seem to be a need for it, so it would have been nice to see that rectified. Moving on to the vehicle then, the DK Jumbo, and this requires a lot of studs not on top work, or snot work if you know your acronyms in LEGO, and as does Donkey Kong actually. His face in particular does use a lot of snot related building. And yeah, this always keeps things interesting. I think it's always nice to see how LEGO create things such as sides without just being traditional brick upon brick building. So in terms of the techniques used, nothing mind-blowing, nothing that hasn't been seen before, but things that are always nice to see within a LEGO set, if that makes sense. The last bag, as I mentioned, includes the curves. Now, whilst this wasn't particularly enjoyable to build, I do feel that the technique used to create the curves and give the impression of that barrel is actually very good. So it's more a case of kind of style over substance, you know, getting through it, because once it's done it does look nice. And inside you'll see a few quite basic techniques to represent a vehicle. You've got your steering wheel, a couple of prints there that have been seen many times before in various Lego sets. There's a spanner down there, I don't know if you can see that, clipped underneath. And you do of course have, unique to the Mario sets, the tile, the interactive tile, that whilst it doesn't do anything for Donkey Kong because he's brick built, you can of course use the Mario, Peach or Luigi interactive figures on this vehicle. They can of course ride this vehicle if you own them, and putting them on that will lead to some sort of interaction. I did try it with my Mario figure. Unfortunately the batteries had run out on him, so I couldn't test exactly what the interaction is. If you've seen one of my reviews before, you know the next area we look at is minifigures in our 5-point scoring system. Now of course there are no minifigures by letter of the law in this set. We instead get a brick built figure being Donkey Kong, as we've already seen, and we have covered some areas of him, so I won't go over everything again. I will just point out some of the areas that we've not really mentioned so far. So first of all, you have the print for his eyes, and there is a small print there to represent his nostrils on the top of this piece. I think that they've done a good job of representing what he looks like. I think it's unmistakable that this is Donkey Kong. I like the layout of the print, if you like, or the actual print itself. What I don't like, what I'm not so keen on, is the quality of the print. I don't know how well that will show up on camera, but the tan colour on the brown, so obviously they printed tan on brown, hasn't been printed particularly well. It's not a strong enough coating, and therefore it's not coloured appropriately to blend in to the rest of Donkey Kong's face. I did mention earlier, I did feel they could have covered a few of these exposed anti-studs up. And again, it's not the biggest deal, but it would have been nice. It wouldn't have taken many more pieces, and it doesn't seem to be a reason not to do it. If absolutely nothing else, they could have used an extra one of these anti-stud pieces, so you get the nice clean tile on the back, and rather than having it in the middle as they have done, they could have had one on each side. But as it stands, that's how it looks. I do think this is a good brick built interpretation. You of course get the hand and feet pieces that are exclusive to the Kongs, although this isn't the first time they've been used. What would have been nice to see, it would have added to the price of the set, but it would have been nice to see Diddy Kong included, because this vehicle first appeared in Double Dash, which was a game in the series where the characters doubled up, hence the name. So with that in mind, having just one character in the set doesn't make much sense. I will say though, for the vast majority of the people buying this, I don't know if they'd even know that this was specifically in a game and will care much at all about that. But just me being picky, it is a review after all. Yeah, seeing Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong together would have been nice. So this set will set you back £29.99 or your regional equivalent, some of which are on the screen now. For this price, I do think perhaps it is a little over what would be completely fair. I think £25 would have been about the sweet spot. I'm not sure if this is an exclusive to Lego themselves or not. I've seen all of the other Mario Kart sets available elsewhere, bar this one and the Yoshi bike. So I don't know if they're ones that are staying in-house for now, or if I've just not been lucky enough to see them out in the wild. But if it is exclusive to Lego, then chances are it won't drop in price for a while until they do a sale towards the end of its life. It does have a play feature. You do have a stud shooter, of course, on the top of the vehicle, and this works in the same way that stud shooters always work. Let's just move Donkey Kong out of the way for a moment. I don't want to smash my telly, but if I put my hand there somewhere, hopefully, can we get it to work without blocking the camera? Here we go. Let's try it. There we go. So yeah, it does have the play feature of a stud shooter. You can use, of course, the green or the red shell to allow that to, or to allow those to fly off. I mean, the idea, I guess, is that it's meant to hit this target. As I said, the banana skin goes on top. That's a nice print, by the way, or a nice mould, sorry. I've seen that in a couple of sets before. It might have actually been the other Donkey Kong sets, but that's definitely a nice piece to have. And yeah, this is meant to fly along, bash into that, which then drops the banana skin on the floor for someone racing to drive across and skid out of the race, as happens so often in Mario Kart. It's a nice play feature. It's not particularly practical. To get that to hit the target, you're going to have to be doing some serious gymnastics there to make it all work, but in theory it's a nice idea, and it's not badly priced, and I do feel once it's built it does look very good to display, and I'm sure it would be fun to play with too. It matches up nicely with the Bowser figure in the muscle car that released last year. I think that was Lego dipping their toes in the water to see if they wanted to do more with the Mario Kart license, and of course it will tie in with the other releases in this new wave. One other thing to note is that this wave at least, they are the first Nintendo related sets that I can think of that actually use stickers. In previous Nintendo licensed sets, everything included that looks like a print was indeed a print, so it's a shame to see that that's the way they're going with yet another theme. To conclude, this is a very decent set for a price that's perhaps a little higher than I would have liked, but I do feel that once it's built, you feel satisfied with what you have. You know, sometimes you build a Lego set and you almost feel the disparity between the fun you had building it, or the products you end up with, and the price you've paid. I don't think that's the case here. It's a good, fun build, and it's a nice display piece afterwards with some fun playability and play functions included too. Set 72033 Donkey Kong and DK Jumbo gets a GB Bricks rated score of 79%. So there you have it, there's my review of 72033 Donkey Kong and DK Jumbo. I'm impressed with it actually. I think it looks really good for what I need it for it to sit on a shelf and look pretty. Basically it does that very well. It will pair up nicely with the Bowser one I already have, and I will add a couple more of these to my collection as time goes on. Let me know what you think of this model. Did you pick it up? Are you intending on doing so? Stick it all down in the comment section below. Feel free to watch any more of my content. I have a number of different things down there. There are a few playlists. I have a few more reviews. I have some mock building videos, haul videos. There's a whole bunch of stuff down there. So yeah, please do have a look. Subscribe if you've enjoyed this. That would be fantastic. Take care, and until next time, happy building.